I am Dr. Justin Coles, and here at UMass Amherst, I am an assistant professor of social justice education, and also in our Center for Racial Justice and Youth Engaged Research, I am the Director of Arts, Culture, and Political Engagement. And so my research broadly is connected around the ways oppressive social cultural regimes, namely anti-Blackness, sort of impact the lives of youth and families in society, and sort of really how that then influences the experiences of students in schools, particularly urban students. And so my entire research agenda is about how do we literally work with these populations to build counter structures to eventually dismantle and create better educational futures. We have our aims, but I think it's important to know the possibilities of it. And so this is a center where it's not just about, I care, desire, and study race, right? Or I care about social justice or social injustice, but we really want the center to be a space on campus where folks understand that this is really the work that everyone needs to be doing in our society, because we are all sort of affected by racial injustices. And again, like I said, at the intersection. And so this is truly a space where if you are seeking to learn or seeking to develop new insights, right? Like this is a space for you to come in, and hopefully you take up this invitation. And there's this idea, Paulo Freire says essentially that in societies, in the world such as ours, we are all dehumanized because of systems of oppression. And so the only way that will work is if everyone sees like a center like this, or like the work that we do, as something that is important and necessary to sort of get involved in, and to sort of expand the ways that we are all thinking about that work. And so everybody come, and we'll figure out how to make this world better. Hopefully this becomes a space where students who may have really wanted to sort of investigate and research things, but they saw perhaps traditional research wasn't something that they wanted to do, but they see this as a space for, hey, I have this idea that I haven't seen folks doing elsewhere. CRJ is the place that I can do that, because it is really it's a center, I think, that is for and sort of by the people. And when I say that, I don't just mean people, but literally what is stemming from folks outside of academic spaces that really makes the world go around. And often when we get into academic spaces or in academic journals, that somehow gets disconnected, even though we all come from these communities. And so we want to sort of have that be a continuum more than a disconnect of who you are, you being able to research in those ways. For example, myself, thinking about the Black tradition, storytelling is just how I grew up learning. But if you went into a traditional academic center or educational program, storytelling is not something you're being, engaged with. And so we want CRJ to be that place where, if that's how you learn and that's how you live, and the people around you do that, right? Let's do some of that work. So. Of course, since it's a center of also youth engaged research, they'll also be able to tap into how youth, both in our surrounding community but across the world, are literally, as I like to say, embodying art, right? Their selves becoming these texts or these aesthetic vessels to resist the world. And we often sort of overlook that, literally just youth culture, and sort of how, across all societies, they, resist just by showing up who they are. And I think back to my time as a school teacher, when we had uniform mandates, and, students literally just said no, and they found little ways to push, right? And I think, how do we look to that visual culture as resistance, right? As sort of just going against the everyday sort of mundane business as usual practices, and hopefully connecting students who are interested in our center that, yes, there are these major in-your-face things that can happen, such as large-scale protests, but a lot of social justice work over the years has been in sort of very simple, sort of subversive acts. And I believe in my role as the Director of Arts, Culture, and Political Engagement, that's what we want to uncover, like the subtleties of resistance. So, my view on social justice and really mentoring in general is that if we are trying to create a new way of doing things, then we must be really connected and sort of move as a collective. And so I see my mentoring as always bi-directional. And so I want students who sort of come here and they work with CRJ or they work with me to understand that, yes, I am both mentoring you, but also like you have all of these gifts and this brilliance and this knowledge. And so please know that I'm also, going to be learning from you. And so in that ways, it becomes really synergistic and in many ways, like a family, I think. And I think that's the best way, particularly for folks who are trying to go against injustice. We have to do that. I think the world in many ways will have us think that independence is the key way of life. And I think that we've seen in many ways that we get more done when we work as a collective. And so that is really the spirit of working with me and just sort of in general mentorship is how do we do this together? How do we both benefit beautifully in ways that, in ways that work and help to help to advance our missions and, all those beautiful things that we have to say. And another thing I'll say is both really respecting and sort of prioritizing the multiple identities and intersectionalities that students come with. And I think it's important for the work of CRJ. People may hear racial justice and think this is a center that is only about race, but it's important for students to know who are interested that, yes, we see race as a central analytic, but we understand the dynamicity of human life, right? That there are intersections, that we are just not our race and ethnicities. But we, at this specific center, want to put that at the core, but we sort of see offshoots of all the myriad ways that people experience the world. So.